Hello and welcome back, my lovely Lovecraftians, to part 2 of the first book of Borrasca. Last time, we left off with childhood innocence itself, a nostalgic scene set. Picture it. You're just a young kid, moving to the suburbs with your family. Your father's gotten a new job, and you, in return, have gotten a new life. You meet some other kids your age, and as the dog days of summer set, you hear a terrifying story about a mountain legend that takes place called Borrasca, where skinned men walked upon us and get rid of the people that get too close or know too much. With that said, we have pressing matters, such as the first day of school. So, Kyle was already waiting for me at the flagpole, and he found Kimber too. Dude, you almost missed the bell. He yelled when he saw me. Kyle. I know, I'm sorry. Whose class are you in? Kimber asked. She was wearing a red sweater and leggings with frogs on them. Her curly orange hair was brushed into ringlets, and her lips were pink and shiny. She never looked prettier, and I was surprised to realize I had never really seen Kimber as a girl. Ah, Mr. Diamonds. Me too, she said cheerfully. Lucky, Kyle scoffed. I'm in Miss Trevor's. Only 2 fourth-grade teachers, and I get the crappy one. Kimber grimaced. Yeah, my mom had her when she was a kid. What's wrong with her? What did she say? She's just strict, and she gives out homework on the weekends. On the weekends? Fuck. Excuse me, Mr. Landry. I immediately recognized the tall man that had suddenly appeared behind the white-faced Kyle. Sorry, sir. I meant, dang. Kimber giggled. I'm sure you did, he nodded. Hi, Sheriff Clary. Even though I'd only met him a few times, I liked my dad's boss, and he liked me. Well, hello, Sammy. Are you excited for your first day? Sheriff Clary crossed his arms in front of him and widened his stance imposingly, but gave me a wide smile. Yes, sir, I said, and then added lamely, what are you doing here? I'm giving a presentation to the 5th and 6th grade classes about safety when walking to and from school. Yeah, he gives it every year, Kyle muttered. Cool, I smiled. Sheriff Clary nodded at me and then turned and walked away. I looked around confused. Where's Kimber? She took off. She is annoyingly on time to everything, and as if to illustrate his point, the bell suddenly rang. And with that, we both ran up the stairs and inside. I walked into class and saw that Kimber had saved me a spot next to her in the back. Mr. Diamond, a short, round man of 40 or so, nodded at me when I came in. Mr. Walker, I presume. Yeah, that's me. I mumbled as I rushed past him to the desk next to Kimber. Welcome to Drisking Elementary, and for the rest of you, welcome back. Go Grizzlies! The class echoed a reluctant and subdued, Go Grizzlies. Kimber introduced me to the other kids in the class throughout the morning. Most of them were nice and a sort of underwhelmed by me. They said their hellos and asked where I was from. Conversations usually ended up with an unimpressed, okay. A group of girls who sat near the front snuck looks at us all morning and snickered. I asked Kimber who they were, and she just shrugged. During our second break, they came up and talked to me. Are you friends with Kimber Yastro? A tall, dark-haired girl asked me. Yeah, I answered, and looked over at Kimber. She was watching me with worried eyes. Are you related to her? No. I didn't think so, because you don't have orange hair. I didn't know what to say. You don't have to be friends with her, you know, said the second girl with the oddly round face. I wanna be friends with her. A third girl behind the other two snorted. She had pretty auburn hair and a rude, upturned nose. Well, if you're going to be in the ugly kid group, the first girl warned, And once you're in that group, you can't ever, and I mean ever, leave it. Better than the bitch group, I said. Rude nose and round face gasped, but the dark-haired girl smiled. We'll see, she said, and the three returned to their corner of the room. I sat back, down next to Kimber, feeling like a badass. It was the first time I'd ever used a swear word in front of anybody other than Kyle. What did they say to you? Kimber asked nervously. They said you're too pretty to be near them, and that you make them look gross, so we have to stay far away from them. Liar, Kimber answered, but I could tell she was smiling. We met Kyle in the cafeteria at lunch, and he had nothing but bad things to say about his morning. Mrs. Trevi wasn't old and mean. She made everyone come up with something to say about themselves, even though the class only had 14 kids, and they all knew each other. When the bell rang for recess, I went to throw my lunch away with Kyle, and I bumped into a kid I hadn't seen before. Hey, are you Sam Walker? The kid asked. Yeah. Oh, your sister's dating my brother. Oh man, Kyle laughed. Your sister is dating a Whittaker. Shut up, Kyle, the kid grumbled. She's gonna be Whitney Whittaker. As funny as it was, I couldn't help but be a little surprised. Not that I'd been paying attention, but I only seen Whitney out of her room once over the summer. Where did she meet him? I asked the kid. I don't know. Probably at his job? Well, his job? Where? He works at Drisking Water. It didn't make any sense to me, but I shrugged it off. I didn't remember my mom giving Whitney some menial task like getting the car washed and setting up some utilities to get her out of the house. Maybe she met him once and they started dating over text. Teenagers were weird. The rest of the school week followed much like the first. We were well into the first month when I heard someone mention the skinned men again. We were out on the playground and Kyle and I were trying to start a fire with 2 large wood chips. I just given myself a splinter when the distant sound of metal grinded on metal flooded over the playground, silencing every one of us. Borrasca, I said in awe. Yep, said Philip Saunders. The skinned men kill again. Hey, Kyle said only babies believe in skinned men. I threw an accusatory look at Kyle. They do. Philip is just stupid. I'm not. Ask Daniela. She's seen them. Phil scanned the playground and yelled at a blonde girl, talking to Rude Nose. Hey, Daniela, come here. The blonde girl rolled her eyes and came skipping over anyways. What do you want? I told you. Kayla doesn't like you, Philip. No. Tell them about the skinned men. Philip gestured to the air around us, which was filled with metallic scraping coming down from the mountain. You tell them. No. You saw them, so you tell them. I didn't see them. Paige saw them. Oh, Philip said. An uncomfortable silence descended. You guys are weird, Daniela said before flipping her hair in our faces and leaving. Who is Paige? I asked when she was gone. Her sister, Phil said. Paige disappeared when we were like 5, Kyle said. After she saw the skinned men, Philip added. The sounds from the mountain abruptly ended and subdued the atmosphere of the playground. It disappeared with it. When the bell rang, Kyle lined up in his class line, and since Phil was in my class, I made sure I was behind him. The teachers began to count off. Hey, what else do you know about Borrasca? I whispered to him. My brother said that's where people go when they disappear. To Borrasca. What happens to them? Bad things, he said, and then shushed me when I asked him what that meant. The year dragged on, and it wasn't until Christmas break that I heard the machine of Borrasca again. It was December, and there was a thick blanket of snow on the ground which only served to amplify the noise from the mountains. I sat in my room listening to it for a few minutes, trying to decide what was just happening in the place that bad things happen. I saw my dad's cruiser pull up out the window and went downstairs to greet him. As I passed my sister's door, I heard her giggling in that annoying teenage girl way, and I cringed. I hope Kimber never got like that. Dad, I skidded on the landing as he opened the door. My dad stomped the snow off his boots and threw him in his arms. Sammy! How many years has it been? He said, joking. It was true. I hadn't seen much of my dad lately since he was working so much. Doing what? I didn't know. Since this was the quietest, lamest town ever. Mom thought the sheriff was grooming Dad for his job since Clary was old, and Dad never really agreed or disagreed with her. He'd only been at the department 7 months after all, and doubted people in the country would vote for him. Hey Dad, do you hear that? That, like, machine-sounding noise. Yep, I hear it in town every now and then. Do you know what it is? I asked the sheriff about it. He told me the noises come from a property that's private up in the Ozarks. Is the property called Borrasca? I asked quickly. I have no idea. Borrasca. Where'd you hear that? I shrugged. Kids at my school. Well, it's nothing to worry about, Sammy. Probably just some logging equipment. But it's a place called Borrasca. Like, have you heard the name before? Nah. I've never heard that name before. Dad pulled his boots off and shrugged off his coat. Looking towards the kitchen, I could tell I was losing him. Have you ever heard of the Skin Men? I said quickly. Skin Men? Good God, Sam, is your sister telling you those stories? No, but he wasn't listening to me anymore. Whitney! He yelled up the stairs. No, Dad. Whitney doesn't even talk to me, I repeated. I heard a door creak open upstairs and Whitney peered over the railing, phone in hand, an annoyed look on her face. Are you trying to scare your brother? Dad demanded. Dad? No, I said again. Whitney shot me a betrayed look. Ugh, seriously? As if I'd waste my time. You aren't telling him stories about skin men? No, Dad. I told you I heard them at school. I said. Whitney gestured to me as if to say, see. Alright. Well, you kids need to start getting along. Your family, for Christ's sakes. Whitney rolled her eyes and Dad walked into the kitchen. She struck her tongue out at me. Real mature, Whitney. I yelled up at her, but she was already gone. I'll tell Dad about your boyfriend. Christmas came and went with surprising smoothness at our house. Whitney and I got everything we had on our list, which was a first for us. The town may be smaller, but Dad's paychecks were clearly better. I wore my new Rams parka on the first day back to school after Christmas break. Kyle fawned over it, and Kimber showed off the blue pearl necklace her mom had gotten her for Christmas. Kyle and I feigned interest, but did it poorly. Kimber knew. But she seemed happy we cared enough to fake it. As we said goodbye to Kyle for the morning, Kimber was suddenly slammed from the side. Kyle caught her before she fell, and I spun around angrily to see dark-haired girl, whose name I learned was Phoebe Dragner, laughing and walking away with round-faced girl. You're bad people who make poor life choices, Kyle yelled at them. When I'm your boss someday, I'll make you clean bathrooms. Yeah, and if Kyle's your boss, you know you messed up, I added. Kyle and I high-fived and turned to Kimber, but she wasn't sharing her victory. She was trying to hide the tears on her face. Don't sweat those girls, Kimber. Nobody likes them. People are just nice to them because they're related to the Prescotts. Kyle tried to give her an awkward pat on the back, but Kimber turned away from him and ran in the opposite direction. I hate those girls. Like, I really hate them, I said. I know. They're bitches, Kyle answered, mouthing the last words as he looked over his shoulder for any lurking adults. Well, I better get to class and make sure they don't try and talk to her again. There's an assembly this morning. No class until after lunch. Seriously? That's awesome. Do we have to sit by class? Not usually, but we better get there quick so we can get seats at the back, Kyle said, starting to walk. What's the assembly for? I asked. It's either DARE or the History Society presentation. What's DARE? You know, DARE as don't you dare do drugs or you're grounded until you're dead. Oh, I hope it's a history thing then. We found Kimber already in the auditorium. She had collected herself and saved us both seats at the back of the room. She waved us over just as the puffy, stern Miss Twevity walked onto the stage. Hello, 4th grade students. This morning, we have a special presentation for you. From the Historic Preservation Society of Drisking. If you have any questions during the course of the lecture, please raise your hand. Like, that will ever happen. This is where we'll leave off for tonight as we reflect on almost a complete school year told from the eyes of this nostalgic child. We are seeing so far that the 4th grade has been both challenging and exciting. I could definitely tell that there's going to be some conflict between the 3 girls known as the upturned nose girl, the round-faced girl, and the dark-haired girl. It also seems like folklore and actual police work are blending into each other now. Because I think the dad's paychecks are bigger due to Borrasca, and that's why the dad was trying to deflect to preserve his child's childhood and also the terrible things that might go on there. But for now, we have no idea, my lovely Lovecraftians, what just is lurking around the corner. Could this presentation be more than just presenting history? Could it be presenting the folklore of the town itself? You'll have to come next time, but until then, bye-bye.